What is up? Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. Yes, I'm aware we're 3 minutes and 17 seconds late. Your boy had a hell of a morning. Got all the way to my son's daycare, forgot something he needed at home, had to go back, had to go drop it off. I was like an hour late to work, and so we're 3 minutes late. So apologize for that, but we'll try to be better. That's what we strive to do here at Bears Now. We got plenty to get to. We will take your questions, so fire away in the chat. Big injury updates for both teams and some trade stuff that we'll discuss as well. Let us know where you guys are tuning in from. Cullen, we are back in 3 days. We'll find out if the Bears can get back into the winning column. Good opportunity to split these two AFC North road games, get to 5-3, and come home to face the Giants.
Yep, an opportunity to be great. And, that's ultimately what Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, the rest of this Bears team, in my opinion, has here, a chance to do, I should say, this upcoming Sunday. Because, look, ultimately, they came out, and it was not a great effort against the Baltimore Ravens. Just plain and simple, just what happened. And, look, I think this weekend going against Cincinnati's defense, who, up to this point, has not been any bit formidable for any other NFL offense. And I think, Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, this offense, I'm looking for them to get right this week. I'm looking for them to have a Dallas Cowboys-esque performance, really just clicking on all cylinders. This is what I'm kind of expecting, going into this week. Because, yes, obviously getting the win is the most important thing. I kind of want them to, kind of flex their muscles a little bit. This is a team that's kind of figured out the run game. Again, they've got to clean up the penalties. We'll talk about that kind of throughout the show as well. But if you're the Bears, you're going up against the Bengals. And again, Joe Flacco may or may not play. He was a participant limited in practice today. I just think this is an opportunity to really kind of, flex who you are as a team. Because, again, it's not how about, performances throughout a season. It's how you respond for those negative performances. And
yeah, this is a great opportunity. First and foremost, any way you can win, you'll take. But this is a great opportunity to, like you said, kind of leave no doubt. The Bengals, it feels like this is kind of their kind of, what's the phrase? They're on their last breath, whatever you want to say. Like they're hanging on by a thread. They lost to the Jets last week, choked that game away. Now, I will say, since Joe Flacco's been in there, they're like top 8 in a bunch of advanced offensive categories. So I still think their offense can pose problems, but you should be able to score at minimum in the mid-high 20 points in this game. Like you should be like anything less than 26, 27 points, I would say is a disappointing performance. Don't think you have to drop 40 on them. It is on the road. They are desperate, but they may not even have Trey Hendrickson in this game. And honestly, I just think like a lot of this comes down to the Bears. And that's been true for the last few weeks. Now, Baltimore, and I tried to say it throughout the week. People just kept reading the stuff on Twitter. They're 30th in every category. They've turned a corner defensively. Now, they still left stuff out there. But the Bears are holding themselves back in a lot of ways, in a lot of different areas. They're not finishing drives. We've talked about the red zone issues. Untimely penalties, especially ones that are very much self-inflicted in terms of pre-snap or just basic stuff. Like, if they can just cut that stuff in half, even in a third, like that could be the difference in, 10 extra points last week. Getting a touchdown on one of those drives and, getting 3 points at the end of the first half, for example. If Caleb Williams runs out of bounds instead of slides down and you don't have to burn a timeout there, you calm everything down. You don't have to, have more urgency on the next few plays. Maybe you do get a more reasonable field goal attempt. So, like, a lot of this is just, if you just clean up things that are in your control, I think you're going to score a lot of more points. And this week is a great opportunity against a bad defense. Let's just be honest. So we'll see what happens. The NFL, as they say, is a week-to-week league, so you never know. But I'm with you, Colin. Like, I think it's a great opportunity to not only win, but like win convincingly if you go out there and play a cleaner brand of football.
Yeah, and ultimately at the end of the day, it's another opportunity, like we mentioned, and I think they've got a lot of matchups that favor the Bears in terms of, their skill set, their personnel, and everything. And we'll break down the latest injury news from both teams heading into this one. To me, like, this is a chance. This is a real big chance for the Bears that in a crowded NFC, you've got to take advantage of opportunities like this because, as you mentioned, you obviously play the Bengals this week. You go up against the Giants. Like, really up until that Eagles game on, what was it, Black Friday, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a really chance to go on a roll here. So, hey, listen, I'm here for it. I'm here to see what they've got. Let's just go out there and do it. Just go out there and execute.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find a way to win this game, which, again, it was always, to me, kind of a realistic and solid goal, split these two. I mean, you would have loved to get both, but if you can win this game, Giants at home next week. Jackson Dart's playing well, but they could be 2-7 by then. Like, maybe they're just kind of done at that point. You get them at home, you'll be favored almost certainly. At Minnesota, what the hell is going on with their QB situation? Should have beat them in week 1. That's kind of a 50-50 game, but I think a game you can win. Pittsburgh at home, probably the same 50-50 type of game. But, like, if you can win this one, all those next 3, really this month, Bengals on the road, Giants at home, Vikings on the road, Steelers at home, Colin. I think if you're a playoff team, you win 3 out of these 4. That's how I would look at it. 2 out of 4 at minimum, but then that means in the stretch run of at Philly, at Green Bay, you should beat Cleveland at home. Green Bay at home, at San Francisco versus Detroit, you're probably going to have to win a game or 2 that you're not expected to. Exactly. So, to me, you got to get 3 of 4 here. If you win 3 of 4, you're 7-4 heading into that gauntlet. Let's say you beat Cleveland, so that's 8-4. You got to win 2 of the 2 Packers games, at San Francisco, Detroit at home, at Philadelphia. I think that's possible to win 2 of those. I think if you have to win 3, like that's a tall order. So this next month, you really have to take advantage. And to me, it starts with this one. Like you got to find a way to win this game on the road. And, you know, if you do and you kind of steadily improve moving forward, you gain confidence if you win 3 out of these next 4. Maybe you do feel better in some of those uphill battle games to have a chance to steal one of those. If you could split Green Bay, for example, stuff like that. So pivotal game. Obviously for them as well. If they lose, I mean, who knows? Do they just trade Hendrickson and just kind of punt on this season? We'll have to wait and see. But get those score predictions in the live chat. Appreciate everybody for hanging out here today.
Our guy is in the chat.
Who do we got in there?
Mike Nintendo Master.
Mike Nintendo Master dropping his host and producer rankings. You and I ranked pretty high on those.
Yeah, he dropped me, which is part of the reason I came out firing today. I'm trying to,
You fell out of favor?
A little bit. Mike told me, hey, I need to step my game up. So I was, trying to bring in the chat. Most people were saying, hey, listen, Colin, let Harry do the talking. What are you doing? But, hey, we're here. We're here. But shout out to our guy Mike. All fun.
John saying 21-10. Tom Bears 3-0. That would be
DC. We're on to Cincinnati.
We're on to Cincinnati.
He said he jinxed the game last week.
28-14 Bears.
Bears 32, Bengals 19 from Bobby. 30-21 Ziganji. We got 10-31 from Harris.
I got Bears 31-20. That's my prediction. We'll see if it changes between now. If Joe Flacco's out, I think there's a world where you hold Cincinnati to, like, I don't know, 13, 17 points. Like, I think blowout could be on the table if the offense doesn't shoot itself in the foot, if it's Jake Browning.
If it's Jake Browning, I won't say a word.
The good news about if it's Jake Browning, he can't move that well. Like, you're not going to have, like, at least Tyler Huntley was a threat to run. Your secondary is going to be healthier. It looks like Tyrique Stevenson's going to be back, which we'll get to that injury news in a minute. But, yeah, that is one thing to consider. Twinquist, get it together. I know we were late, 3.5 minutes.
I know.
We apologize.
We're just out here trying to give you guys the best Bears content.
By the way, I will just verbally mention this, and Isaac, we'll get you a raffle ticket for it. Sunday is when we will do the raffle at the end of the game for the signed Caleb Williams football. Normally it's $50. Today's stream, $20 super chats. You can get in there. We'll add you to the raffle. And then Sunday's game, since it's an October raffle, that'll be your last chance to get in. So any $20 super chats that we get today, you can get in there. And then Sunday at the end of the stream, we will raffle it off, do a raffle drawing, and see who wins. So just wanted to mention that. Wasim Khan, how good is the secondary if Chauncey Gardner-Johnson pays off? I mean, it could be pretty good. I mean, he's kind of early in his career with Dennis Allen. He played primarily nickel. In recent years, he's played more safety, but he's kind of been that safety nickel hybrid. So I don't know if he's going to come in and be a superstar right away, but I expect this to be an upgrade over Nick McLeod, like a pretty notable one. I don't expect it to be perfect, especially early on. We'll see if he's a full go Sunday. I certainly expect him out there. But, yeah, with Tyrique Stevenson a full participant today, Sunday, it looks like you'll have Brisker and Byard at safety, Tyrique and Nashawn Wright as your two outside guys, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in the slot. It's a lot better than what you had last week with Jalen Jones as your other outside corner and Nick McLeod in the slot. I think you're feeling a lot better if that ends up being the case.
Yeah, I think, not to state the obvious, but for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, it's all about what's up here. Because I think ability-wise, he's still a really productive player in this league. Obviously, he has the history not only with Dennis Allen, but was on the played under a coaching staff, that was featured Ben Johnson, featured guys like JT Barrett, who I think he also may have been on the roster with at some point, Antoine Randall as well. So, look, I think you nailed it on the head. Nick McLeod, fine, probably special teams, kind of sub-package corner. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, he can make a difference. And I think as your, nickel back there alongside, hopefully, Tyrique Stevenson and Nashawn Wright against a potent, Bengals passing attack, he's going to be somebody that could make a play or two for you. That could be the difference in the game. So, yeah, I think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, again, if he can keep everything right up here, just keeps his focus, I think he could be a really productive player in this defense.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see on a short week for him, practice. What's the playing shape? You'd assume he's in shape, but he hasn't played in a game since, I think, week 3 against Houston. So that's something to consider as well. Dennis, in the offseason, hypothetical, would you rather trade DJ and your first for Bain or a higher caliber prospect, or just get a second or third and stay put? That's an interesting hypothetical. Trade DJ Moore and, let's just say the Bears have the 17th pick to move up and get Ruben Bain, depending on where he falls. It's hard to, answer that here in October, but I do think you're going to have to – I think drafting a premier pass rusher makes a lot of sense. Whether it's Ruben Bain, whether it's one of the Texas Tech kids, whether there's a kid out of A&M too who's leading the SEC. His name's Cassius Howell. He's a fun player. I do think Keldrick Falk's a good player. So I think adding a pass rusher could make a lot of sense. Whether using DJ in a trade to accomplish that makes sense, TBD on that. But I do think DJ, and people think I'm the DJ Moore hater. I'm not. I just think that Rome has elevated to be this team's number 1. And what you're paying DJ Moore to be your number 2 receiver in the production he's given you, regardless of whose fault it is. I'm not even saying it's all DJ's fault. I don't think that. Does it make more sense to trade him this offseason, get out of some of that money, and use those allocations elsewhere? Because another part of this is Luther Burden next season needs to be a full-time starter. If he's not, that's a bad draft pick. You took him in the second round. Top 50 guy by year 2 needs to be a full-time starter. So, there's a lot of factors here, but we'll see come this offseason. I don't expect DJ to get traded in the next 5 days, but this offseason I do think there's a world where that could happen.
Yeah, I think it largely depends on what your plan is at left tackle, to be honest.
Left tackle too?
The thing is obviously if you acquire, hopefully a developmental or a star-level pass rusher that you feel like could turn into a one edge, that would be ideal. You also have to figure out what's going on with left tackle. Again, Theo Benedict's got another chance to prove himself. So coming Sunday, does Ozzie eventually, potentially swing over to that side? What's their plan there? So if they get that figured out, I'd be more apt to potentially entertaining an idea. And again, as you mentioned, it's October, but to me,
they got to decide.
Both of those.
They got to decide by probably, let's call it March 10th, what their confidence level is and if they have the left tackle on the building. Right? Because that's around when free agency starts. Could there be a trade out there for a veteran left tackle that they like? And then obviously the draft in April too. So, this isn't like a let's dump on Theo Benedict. I think for where he came from, he's been fine, but I think you would need to see a notable jump the final 10 games of the season to just roll with him heading into the offseason. Now, could he be part of a competition based on what we've seen? Sure, but like ideally, you upgrade that spot there on the left side of your offensive line. Isaac Siegel, he'll get a raffle ticket for the signed Caleb Williams football, which we will officially raffle off on Sunday. Feels like this is the game. This will be Caleb Ben showing what they can do. They only blitz about 14% of the time but have not been successful. Caleb with time and poor players in the secondary looks like a good chance. Yeah, I mean, there should be opportunities. And, one thing I've said too, I can't remember which Bears media member said this today, but it's like if they don't move the ball Sunday, moving the ball has not been the problem. Like this team is moving the ball. It's finishing drives and not in the red zone and not shooting yourself in the foot with penalties. Like that is holding this team back. I'll actually be curious here. What is the total yards per game for the Bears? I would guess it's higher than you would think. Let's look at it. Okay. The Bears are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They're 12th in yards per game. That's above average. I mean, if you told me, if I asked you heading into the season, hey, 7 games in, this new offense, the Bears would be 12th in yards per game. That's almost top third of the league. Would we have not taken that 7 games into this, Ben Johnson just taking over the team? They're not finishing drives. Like that's been the issue the last month. If they just tighten up the details 10%, like you're probably top 10 in yards per game, and you get back into the top 10 of scoring, which you were until this past week. You're now 16th because you only scored 16 points a week ago, but we all know they left points out there. So they're moving the ball. This is a above average offense, but the little things are preventing them from being good, if not very good, pretty quickly, I would say. Like, we've seen glimpses of it, Cullen, but when you go 5 for 16 in your last 16 red zone trips in terms of scoring touchdowns, like that's just not going to cut it. Like if you're even just 8 of 16, which is like very average, like your score, that's 12, 16 more points in the last month. So
yeah, no, I completely agree. And the thing is too is that there have been numerous, let's call it reasons for them not, succeeding in the red zone. It's the penalties that have been a hamper of this team for pretty much the entirety of the season. Their ability to kind of run the ball in the red zone, I feel like, hasn't been the greatest.
Short yardage execution has not been a strength of this team. And when you especially get in goal-to-go situations, that's when that really comes to light.
And so, I mean,
the snap stuff that one game, that ended 2 drives.
The snaps, the Caleb's not relationship, but kind of chemistry with other receivers outside of Odunze, I feel like only gets heightened in the red zone because you have to be really precise in that area of the field. So you add all those up, the Bears are going to have to figure out a way to kind of, get over those kind of humps if they want to, succeed in the red zone, which they're capable of doing. I think they are.
They got the pieces to do it. The one thing they don't really have is like a thumper on the goal line. No. I mean, that was supposed to be Roschon, but he's hurt again. They seemed reluctant early in the year to use him in that regard. I don't know if that's based on his concussion history or what. Monungai in theory should be able to do some of that. Swift has stuck his nose in there some. Like last week, he punched one in from a yard out, but like that's not really what should be his role. So I think a way to work around that is use your QB's mobility. Run that one game, for example. They ran kind of QB sweep out of the shotgun to the right and found the pylon. I can't remember which game that is, using the running back as a lead blocker. Like, that's kind of a finesse play on the goal line, but if you're not good in short yardage, maybe that's the way to go. So, again, it's a lot of little things that adds up over time. Okay, Durham, who did the Bears target at the trade deadline since CJ Gardner-Johnson? Well, I think it gives you the flexibility that you don't have to force the issue in your secondary. I still think you could look at outside corner if you think there's an upgrade out there over Nashawn Wright that wouldn't cost a lot, or if you just want to kind of hedge for depth purposes because Tyrique's dealing with this shoulder thing. Who knows the specifics of that situation? He was a full participant today, but I think you could add there. You could add a pass rusher. I don't think they'd swing big there, but could you get like either a young controllable asset for a middle round pick or just like a cheap rental? Like, do you take a swing on a Matt Judon or a Calais Campbell or something like that? Pick swap, bring him in here, come into the rotation. I could see something like that. I don't think they're getting Trey Hendrickson. I don't think, Jermaine Johnson was the guy I was interested in. Sounds like that's off the table, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at right now.
I would say, and again, this is definitely a hedge answer, but I think it's honestly the truth. We'll know more after the Sunday, where kind of things sit, because truthfully, it also could mean, if the Bears do win on Sunday, Trey Hendrickson, does he potentially become available? If that would be like the one big one that the Bears could potentially be like, hey, let's, if we believe in this team enough, adding an edge rusher, could that, potentially help the back end also?
Does running back re-enter the conversation? Swift has not practiced this week with that groin issue. Like, has that just kind of slowly gotten worse over time because he's been playing through it? Like, do they feel like they have to add to that room? Even if it's not a big name, like, would you just bring in – Roschon's banged up too. Would you go add like a Jerome Ford or something like that? He could help in those short yardage areas too. Like, I could see something like that depending on how they feel Swift can, progress throughout the season. So, maybe that's on the table. I don't think like a Breece Hall move is likely at this point. But, yeah, I mean, Sunday's outcome and obviously the injury situation coming out of that game, not only for guys who play but guys who are going to be out, that could certainly play a role. Okay, Isaac, 36-17 Bears, love y'all. We love you, Isaac. Appreciate you tuning in, my guy. Stack, Steelers game is a must-win. I don't want Aaron Rodgers saying he owns us. Yeah, that would be nice to win that game. That would be nice. He's going to be motivated. Hopefully Bears players who faced Aaron when he was in Green Bay would be motivated as well. So, yeah, that's, we're a few weeks away from that. But, yeah, and that could be a big game as well. That's part of this 4-game stretch before the schedule really ramps up. And Pittsburgh's not a bad team either. I don't think they're a great team, but in this 4-game stretch, they are probably the best team you're playing. But you get them at home. Their defense has had issues. I don't love their running game either. If you would have told me the best part of this Steelers team has been Aaron Rodgers, I would have been surprised. So they've been kind of a weird team so far this year.
I just credit to Mike Tomlin and the culture he's been able to build there. It's a huge reason why he continuously has had winning seasons year over year over year over year. Yeah, I think that's definitely a game that, Bears fans will really want to win for sure, and hopefully the Bears do as well. And, yeah, it's just part of, going back to the earlier conversation, your schedule, starting with the Philly game, really, toughens up down the stretch. So any, potential game between now and then, you really would like to try to get in the win column.
Yeah, again, final 6 games at Philly on Black Friday, at Green Bay, Cleveland at home. That's certainly a must-win. Cleveland at home, Green Bay at home, at San Francisco, and then Detroit at home to end the season. So, 6 games. I think just in a vacuum, you'd be thrilled with 3-3 there. So that probably means you got to be at 7 wins heading into those 6 games to have a shot to make the playoffs. Because it would be pretty impressive if they went 4-2 or better in those 6 games. So we'll see. 1 game at a time. Prometheus, how many penalties for the Bears? Well, they're averaging 9.1 per game. So you can set the more or less at 9. I'm going to be optimistic. I think this week, I'm not saying they fully clean it up. I think it will be better than last week. It was 11 for 79. We're going to get to some comments from Declan Doyle here in a minute. They are emptying the clip in terms of trying to get this figured out with the penalties because it's a big reason why their offense has been held back specifically. I'm going to say it's less than 9 penalties this week. Not saying it's going to be like 4 penalties for 25 yards, but I'll say it's like 7 penalties for 60 yards, which for this team would be a big improvement.
I think they'll sweat it. I'll go 8 for 70.
Okay, and be right on the number.
Right on the number. Listen, I hope I'm wrong, but
they got to prove it.
They got to prove it at this point. They do.
Big dumper. Did you see Bears, Lions, and Colts are engaging in trade talks for one? So that came from the account NFL Rumors. That is not a reputable account. Now, the Colts have been linked to DBs. The Lions have been linked to defensive players. Obviously, the Bears have had secondary issues. So, I could see that being possible, but I have not seen an official report on that. That was from the only Twitter with sources account that you should listen to is our guy Ricky.
That's about it. That's about it.
So, I could buy it. I just don't think they're saying that with any real reporting that they're hearing. Zane Gray, it's interesting to keep hearing y'all say Chauncey instead of CJ. Earlier in his career, I think it was
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Chauncey's his name, but I think at one point he just told people, call me CJ.
Yeah.
And then I heard the other day, CD. I was like, CD? Is that new? I don't know. CJ Gardner-Johnson. That's what I'm going to try to stick to because that's what he's been going by recently. But, yeah, I keep kind of switching back and forth, so I'll try to not do that. Braden, first donation on the channel. We appreciate it, Braden. He says, I feel the Bears' defense will get better. Trading for an edge rusher, potentially draft a DB. Yeah, I mean, like, safety's a big position to watch this offseason. In theory, you should be good at corner moving forward, but what's the injury prognosis for Jalen Johnson moving forward? I mean, Kyler Gordon's going to be here. His contract kicks in next year, this new one, so they just got to hope he can stay healthy moving forward. But, Tyrique's under contract. So at corner, you should be in a good spot. But, yeah, safety is an interesting spot, and certainly edge. I mean, we've talked about that over and over and over and over again. You gotta get some pass rush help, no question. Jeffrey, my flex spot, do I start Zay Flowers versus Miami? That game's tonight. Or take the swing with Monungai, considering even if Swift plays, he could go off. I think it's Flowers. Number one, Lamar Jackson loves playing in Miami. That's where he's from. And number two, the Dolphins' defense stinks. I know the Bengals do too, but, like, he's their number one receiver. Monungai, even if he starts, sure, starting running back, but, like, he's a seventh-round rookie. I think it's pretty clearly Zay Flowers, especially if it's PPR.
I am a pretty big Kyle Monungai fan, as you both know, or as you all know, I'm assuming by this point. That being said, Zay Flowers would be the play. I think, especially with Lamar, like you mentioned the Miami point, Lamar loves feeding Zay Flowers. Like, Zay Flowers is the number one in that offense, and I think he's probably the safest bet, to your point, PPR. So Lamar's
first game back, he's going to be, you would think he's going to go off.
Get a little, prime time boost. It's just, Yeah. He said only Ward because the Miami number one versus wide receivers because they're so bad. LOL. Yeah, they're bad in a lot of areas, but I'd play Zay Flowers.
I would play Flowers. I love the Ravens tonight. I think they go off. Jeremy, feel like Bears have to win every week to make playoffs. I think if they go 14-3, they're making the playoffs.
Hopefully.
Just a gut. No, you don't have to win every week, but. Yeah, this next stretch is critical, like we've said, because the home stretch is going to be difficult. So I do think you borderline have to win this game if you're going to be a playoff team. I will say that. So hopefully they get it done. Aaron, how is your initial record prediction for the season looking compared to the actual record right now? That's a good question. I'm going to pull up that video, and I'm going to do the one I did right before the season, not the one when the schedule came out. So this is how I had it. Week 1, Vikings, I had a win. They lost. I had a loss in Detroit. So I had them 1-1, but then they were 0-2. I had them beating the Cowboys. I had them losing in Vegas. So I had week 1 and week 4 wrong, but I did have 2-2 heading into the bye. I had them beating Washington, so 3-2. Had them beating the Saints, 4-2. And I had them losing to the Ravens. So we're right on schedule. After that, I had beating the Bengals, beating the Giants. I had them losing at the Vikings. Probably need to beat them this time since you lost the first time. Had them beating the Steelers, losing to the Eagles, losing the first time in Green Bay, beating the Browns at home, beating the Packers at home, winning in San Francisco, which I actually still like because when the schedule quirk there is the 49ers play in Indy, I believe on Monday Night Football the week before that game. All of a sudden, the Colts are a juggernaut. And so that's a short week for them flying back and then losing at Detroit. So kind of right on schedule. I had them 4-3. They're 4-3. Got to win the next two. That's what I had. At Bengals, Giants at home. Need to win these two.
Get it done.
Get it done, baby. Kyle, Does McCarthy play this year or is something fishy going on? I mean, he's playing this week, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Barring something unforeseen. He's playing this week. Now, that doesn't mean something fishy isn't going on, but he is playing this week.
Based on everything that I know, I mean, I've kind of talked to our Vikings host about it. Seems like he's, gearing up to go. So
yeah, that doesn't mean like big picture. I mean something fish like
right.
Have there been talks behind the scenes? Like, do they believe in JJ? I think there could be more going on there, but he's playing this week. You got to play him the rest of the season and find out if he's your guy. If you're Minnesota,
which again, I mean, it's one of the longer high ankle sprain injuries I've ever seen.
Yeah,
be interesting to see.
Tough task against Detroit this week.
Very tough.
That's a tough spot. Question for you guys: is it better for the Bears if the Lions win that game or if the Vikings win that game? If you're trying to win the division, it would be Vikings. But at the same time, if the Vikings lose this one, they fall pretty far back in the pack. Maybe it's just better for them to be out of the mix. Because I don't think the Bears are winning the division. I think the wild card is that spot you have to be thinking about. So you want to win the division. I think the Lions and the Packers are a step above this team right now. So
I think roster wise especially, like it's pretty noticeable.
They're just further along.
They just are.
Further along.
We'll get Buff Mac on screen next. He says, who do you think has been the most impactful rookie for the Bears so far?
I would say it's between two guys. I would say it's between Loveland and Monungai. And the fact that your 7th-round rookie running back is in that conversation is not a great thing. I will say I thought Shamar Turner was starting to make some plays when they moved him to defensive end, and then, of course, he rips his knee, so that's tough. Luther Burden has obviously had some splash plays. That Dallas game, obviously, he had a big impact on, but it's been few and far between. Loveland, if you just pull up his box score, his fantasy stats, it's not going to stand out, but he's been pretty damn impactful in the run game. He's been a good blocker. But again, even for where you drafted him, you expect more. And I don't really think that's on him, to be honest. I think that the Bears just aren't getting enough out of him, whether that's Ben, whether that's Caleb, whether that's a combination. So, yeah, I mean, it's between those two. Ruben Hippolyte's a healthy scratch every week now. That's not great. What's disappointing about that, Cullen, is that, to me, he at least profiled to be a good special teamer. The fact that they don't trust to have him active to play special teams, like DeMarco Jackson, who, by the way, he was the guy who lined up improperly on that illegal formation on that punt. Huge play in that game because you had to re-punt after downing the ball at the 1-yard line. So that's been a disappointment. Zay Frazier is obviously not on the team, basically, not playing. So
Luke Newman's not contributing.
Ozzie Trapillo last week kind of served like as a additional blocking tight end with Kmet out. Like, Luke Newman for where you got him in the 6th round, being a swing guard. I mean, I think that's perfectly fine. Like, I don't think you expected him to play, but yeah, I mean, your premium picks, they're playing, but they're not making a lot of plays. So far, not super impressive. Okay, lefty, Austin Booker breakout game. Well, it's his first game of the year, so I don't know what we can expect. How about this? If I call his name more than once, that's probably a good thing. Unless he has multiple penalties.
I'm about to say.
But if Austin Booker has me call his name more than once on this game in a positive light, I'd call that a success. Like, maybe he has a sack. Maybe he beats a tackle and forces a pressure. Maybe he bats a ball down. I don't know how much he's going to play. I would imagine a decent amount. Like, Shamar Turner's out and Dominic Robinson's not going to play in this game. So he's going to have to eat some snaps for sure. All right, we'll continue to answer your questions, but we do have some other stuff to get into on today's show. So please do hit that like button here on Chicago Bears Now so we can get some more Bears fans in here. It sends a little signal to the YouTube algorithm, and hopefully more Bears fans can see this. But here's what we got coming up on a Thursday live show. We're going to cover today's news and some injury updates. We also heard from the Bears coordinators today. I wanted to dive into a couple topics that Dennis Allen and Declan Doyle touched on. We'll take your questions in a mailbag segment, hashtag Bears or Super Chat, and then some trade buzz from ESPN that I want to get into, some interesting thoughts from a few of their writers and analysts. So all that coming up here on Chicago Bears Now. I'm Harrison Graham. Here's what we got coming up on Chicago Bears Now. The latest injury news on the Bears and the Bengals, including the latest on Joe Flacco. Is he expected to play here in this game on Sunday or not? And then it's Coordinator Thursday at Halas Hall. That's when the three Bears coordinators always talk to the media. So we'll hear Dennis Allen's thoughts on the CJ Gardner-Johnson signing and Declan Doyle sounding off on the Bears' penalty and red zone woes. So want to dive into those things here on today's show. Let's start with the injury stuff, though. We'll get to the Bears first here as some positive updates for the most part on today's injury report. One potential negative update that I do think is worth getting into. Let's start with the positive, though. Tyrique Stevenson was a full participant today, so all signs point to him being back on Sunday, which that's obviously a huge development for this defense and for this secondary, because now you're kind of getting two starters back because you signed CJ Gardner-Johnson. He may not be full up to speed, but I would expect him to play a decent amount in this game. You got Tyrique Stevenson back as your top outside corner, Nahshon Wright as a CB2 you feel more comfortable with, and then your two safeties, Kevin Byard and Jaquan Brisker, who for the most part have been good this year. I didn't think Brisker was good last week, but for the most part, those guys have been solid. Heading into the year, if you said this would be your week 9 starting secondary, it might be some interesting looks from Bears fans, but compared to last week when Jalen Jones and Nick McLeod were playing a lot of snaps, that sounds a whole lot better heading up against Jamar Chase and company this Sunday. Now, elsewhere on the injury report, on a positive light, 3 of your top 4 receivers, after not practicing yesterday, returned today. Now, they were limited, but Rome Odunze, who we'll get to in a second, been dealing with a heel issue. DJ Moore, that hip groin situation that he's been battling through. Then Olamide Zaccheaus with a knee. They all missed practice on Wednesday, but returned to practice on Thursday in a limited capacity, so that's arrow pointing up. Cole Kmet limited for a second straight day, so we'll see what his status is come Friday. Now, as far as Rome Odunze goes, he spoke to the media after today, which is always a good sign. When a player speaks to the media, that almost is always a signal that they are playing. He said that his heel injury has been a, quote, progressive thing that he's dealt with throughout the season, and the Baltimore game was where it was at its peak. He was limited today and said he'll be ready to go in Cincinnati. So that's a good sign, even if that heel's not 100%. He's obviously been pretty darn good this year. Now, Luther Burden, I wouldn't expect to have him this week. He was a DNP again with that concussion. It's rare these days in the NFL where you get concussed on a Sunday and play the next game, so I would expect he is out, but we'll see if there's any progress Friday. DeAndre Swift, we'll get back to him in a second. He's been dealing with a groin issue for weeks now. I have some just thoughts on that. Roschon Johnson, DNP with his back injury. Dominic Robinson, we know, is out this week with that high ankle sprain. I still wonder, is there a chance he goes on 4-game short-term IR? We'll see. And then Joe Thuney with a rest day. I think Thursdays moving forward are probably going to be a day where they give the veteran Thuney a day off in terms of the physical workload. I do wonder with DeAndre Swift, he's been on the injury report for weeks and isn't doing much early in the week. And then, by Thursday, Friday, he starts to do stuff. Well, this week didn't do anything today. He's been limited on a lot of Thursdays and then full go Friday. So didn't do anything today. So I wonder, has this groin thing just kind of slightly deteriorated by week? And he could keep playing through it, but if you give him a week off, could he be closer to 100% moving forward? Look, where the Bears are at, they need him out there if he can play, but I do wonder if there's a world where he sits this week. Now, if that's the case, and if Roschon Johnson's out, you would almost certainly have to elevate Britton Brown, who did some good things in the preseason, but it would be Kyle Monangai, Travis Homer, and probably Britton Brown. Is that good enough against a bad Bengals defense? I don't know, but if this Swift thing is going to continue to get worse, which it seems like it maybe has a little bit, I do wonder if they try to sneak a game off for him at some point to try and heal up that groin. Keep an eye on his status on the Friday injury report. All right, who you got this Sunday? Type CHI for the Bears or CIN for the Bengals. Pivotal game for both, as the Bengals, if they lose, their playoff hopes are really in shambles. And if you're the Bears, you get that split, head home 5-3 to face the Giants. Feeling pretty good about where you're at. Okay, Joe Flacco, what is the latest with him? He returned to practice today, was listed as limited as he's been dealing with that shoulder injury. You know, yesterday Zach Taylor called him 50-50. I would say with him returning today, that's got to be an increased number at this point in time. Paul Denner Jr., who covers the Bengals for The Athletic, said, encouraging comment from Jamar Chase in his press conference today. He said Joe Flacco played, quote, regular, looked the same in practice today. Quote, I didn't know he was injured for real, close quote. Flacco returned to practice as he's dealing with that AC joint sprain. Again, Zach Taylor called him 50-50 yesterday. I think he's playing on Sunday. Joe Flacco's a vet. He doesn't need a ton of practice work anyways with how long he's been in the league. And even he knows, too, it's like if we lose this game, we're done probably. So I would expect him out there even if he's not 100%. And, you know, I saw a few clips of him throwing the ball on social media today. It looked fine to me. So it doesn't seem like a severe thing with that shoulder. What about Trey Hendrickson? Well, he did not practice for a second straight day with that hip injury. And usually, now he's a vet, so it could be different. Usually when guys miss practice Wednesday, Thursday, because those are the big practice days, Friday is always a lighter practice. Usually that means a guy is out. Now, he's a vet. He probably falls into that category if he could play, if he's ready to go by Sunday, if he doesn't do anything during the week. But I think there's a world where tomorrow he's a DNP again and already ruled out. Now, we'll see. We'll obviously keep an eye on that and have it covered if there's any major information there. But tomorrow we'll be telling of his status. I would say if he's not at least limited on Friday, his chances for Sunday probably dip below that 50-50 status and could even be ruled out after re-aggravating that hip injury on Sunday. And obviously, he's a big name for this game because he's by far their best defensive player. And a guy like Theo Benedict lining up against him, that could cause some problems. But also, after this game, not only necessarily for the Bears, but the whole league. Like, would the Bengals consider trading him if they lose this game and fall to 3-6? So a lot of attention on Trey Hendrickson over the next 4 or 5 days. All right, subscribe to the channel. We are trying to get to our next milestone of 137,000 subscribers. If you're part of the 136 and change, we appreciate you very, very much. I have people messaging me all the time. Man, I was there at 10K, 20K, 60K. The growth has been insane, and it's all because of you guys. So we appreciate the support. We're here every single day for free content. If you want to be a part of this family, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications. All right, coming up, we are going to react to some things that Dennis Allen and Declan Doyle said at Hallis Hall earlier today. Thursday is always the day when Bears coordinators talk to the media. So want to pass some of that along to you and react myself. But first, do got to tell you guys about our awesome sponsor, Ethos. Life insurance is one of the most important investments you can make in your family. And now with Ethos, you can get covered and protected in minutes with rates as low as $2 per day billed monthly. You can also get up to $3 million in coverage. Look, as a husband, a father, having life insurance, it's not something I take lightly. And for those out there that are in my boat as well, you shouldn't take it lightly either. Ethos is revolutionizing the insurance industry with a 100% online process and can provide protection for you and your loved ones. With Ethos, you can get life insurance in as little as 10 minutes. They have no medical exams, just a few easy health questions online. Their 100% online and hassle-free process makes it easy to apply. You'll get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. You can get same-day coverage without ever leaving your house. How about this? As of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Pretty awesome stuff. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get up to $3 million in coverage in as little as 10 minutes at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That is ethos.com/NFL Daily. Application times may vary, rates may vary. That link is in the comments and description of this video. Go check out Ethos today. All right, Dennis Allen, obviously I was curious to see what his comments and thoughts were going to be after the CJ Gardner-Johnson signing. He obviously coached him his first 3 years of his career in New Orleans. So he sounded off on that plus more today. Let's start with his thoughts on Gardner-Johnson. He said, I think he's a highly competitive player. He goes out there and competes on every single play. He brings a little attitude to the football team. And, Kevin Byard said something yesterday that I agree with, and that is that most good teams, and especially defenses, they always have that dude that just kind of has a little extra juice. He really toes that line. Tyrique Stevenson, Jaquan Brisker, they got some of that in them. But this guy really, he probably crosses the line at times, let's be honest. But, sometimes you just need a prick, right? You just need an asshole on your team. And I'm not saying he's that, as a person, but, this guy is going to run his mouth. Now, you can't do it to the point where you're costing your team with constant penalties and stuff. But this guy will get under opponents' skins. We've seen that here in Chicago 5 years ago. He did it in 2 different games. But he also has the play to back it up. He's not a superstar, but this is a nice football player. He's versatile. He had 6 interceptions just last season for a Super Bowl winning team in the Philadelphia Eagles. 18 career picks. He's gotten his hands on 51 balls. Dennis Allen, in his first 3 years, they played him primarily at nickel, and that's what he's going to be doing in this defense. You know what they did a lot with him? They blitzed him. Guess what? This pass rush stinks. So I would guess they're going to do more of that with CJ Gardner-Johnson. So I'm excited to see what he can do. I don't think we should have all-pro expectations. I think in the near term we should have, okay, he's going to be more impactful than Nick McLeod, and hopefully as a couple weeks go on, he gets, up to speed fully and, back into full game shape and all of that. That should be the hope. That should be the expectation. So I'm excited to see what he can do. I like him reuniting with Dennis Allen for a multitude of reasons. DA also was asked about Austin Booker and said he's been outstanding in practice. Now, I do wonder a little bit about that because they waited until the last second of that practice window to activate him. And it just, when you see things like that, because typically when you open a 21-day practice window, unless there's a setback with the injury, 9 times out of 10, that player returns that first week or the second week. He didn't even return the third game, technically. They activated him the Monday after this past game, or even on Tuesday. So they waited till the last second of that 21-day window. So, what does that tell me? Were they upset with how he's practicing? Maybe there was a minor setback early on in that process. Maybe they just really liked what the other guys were providing, but I don't know how that could be the case. The pass rush has been non-existent. So I'm not saying DA is lying, but I do wonder why it took so long for them to activate him. But now with Shamar Turner out for the year, Dominique Robinson set to miss at least a couple games. They need Austin Booker, even if he's not going to be that physical, run-setting edge. If he can get after the quarterback every once in a while, that would certainly help because no one on this team has more than 3 sacks in 7 games, which is not ideal whatsoever. This is an interesting question for you guys. Who do you think has the bigger impact on Sunday? First game as a Bear this season for both these players. Type AB for Austin Booker or CJ for CJ Gardner-Johnson. Bigger impact Sunday. You guys let me know in the comments below. All right, let's shift over to another coordinator, Declan Doyle. They are emptying the chamber in terms of trying to fix these penalty issues. He had an interesting answer when asked about the Bears' penalty problems, as they are second in penalties per game this year at 9.1, only behind Jacksonville, and a decent amount of those self-inflicted with the pre-snap issues offensively. Here is a snippet from Adam Mahogue, CHGO. I want to give him credit here for kind of putting this out in the social media universe. He said Declan Doyle said they've reviewed every penalty from the entire season and have resorted to, quote, some unorthodox things, close quote, in practice to get it cleaned up. Quote from Declan Doyle, it's something we're addressing and is really important for us to stay on schedule. That's, ahead of the chains, that type of stuff, second and medium, third and short, instead of, a penalty shooting them back to third and long, stuff like that. I would love to know what those unorthodox things are, but I am glad that this staff is, turning every stone to try and nip it in the bud. Obviously, the players have to just clean things up, too. That's obviously a big part of this, but let's face it. 2 things are holding this offense back from being average to above average, which is what they are right now. They're 12th in yards. They're moving the ball. to good, if not great. I think there's a world where by the end of this season, we're like, man, this is a pretty damn good offense. It's penalties and red zone woes. You clean that up a little bit. No one's saying perfect, but better than what it's been recently. I think you at least enter that consistently good offensive territory. Here's what Declan Doyle had to say on the red zone issues. He said, the red zone struggles have been on all of us. As you look at them sequentially, pulling up that last game, you might look at it and say, hey, there's one play. I look at it and say there's 4 plays that if our precision and our detail is better on any one of those 4 plays, we probably come away with 7 points in both of those first 2 drives. And that's the thing that we have to really hone in on. There's no magic answer. If there was, we'd be going out and doing it. It's really our ability to execute, be precise on the details with what we're asking guys to do in those critical moments are going to lead to 7s rather than 3s. And we talked about this. I did a full video, 3 big things the Bears got to clean up. Red zone, penalties, and then we talked about special teams, especially in those coverage units, which has been a problem. The Bears started 6 for 7 in the red zone, okay? Since then, they're 5 for 16. So overall, they're under 50%. That's 26 in the NFL. 5 for 16, 31%. If that was like the season-long percentage, that would be dead last by, I think, like 7%. I think dead last for the whole season is like 38%. That's not good enough. I mean, 50% wouldn't even crack top 20, and that would be a huge jump for where you've been the past 4 games. If you're just 8 for 16 the past 4 games, you probably beat Baltimore, and a couple of those other games probably aren't as close as they should be, if we're being completely honest. You fix these 2 things, you're cooking with gas. Now, I'm not expecting to go from 5 for 16 over a 4-game sample size to 13 of 16 the next 4 games, but can we be 9 for 16? Can we be 10 for 16? Can we cut the penalties down from 9 per game to 7 per game? I mean, that right there is almost a 20% jump just for 2 less penalties per game. I think these are achievable benchmarks for this football team and for this offense. And despite all of that, you're still 12th in yards per game. You're still scoring 24 points per game, which is 16th in the NFL despite the disastrous red zone woes over the past month. If you were like in these statistical areas with what we've seen in previous years, we're talking about one of the worst offenses in the league. So you're still having success despite these problems. So if you can clean these things up, a lot of which are in your control, some of the red zone, sometimes defenses are going to make a play. We understand that. But if you just get better there, more efficient, cut down the penalties, I think this offense has a chance to be in that top 10 range this year. So I still am holding out hope that that can happen. I don't see why we shouldn't believe there's a chance it could, because we know this team can move the ball. It's about executing and finishing when it matters the most. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Chicago Bears Now. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Keep an eye on that injury report. If there's big developments on Friday, we'll hit you guys with another video, so stay tuned for that. Subscribe and bear down. All right, hashtag Bears Super Chat. We'll get to your questions here.
Cooking with gas.
I mean, 5 for 16 the last 4 games, and you're 3-1. And in 3 of those 4 games, you still scored 25 points or more, which is well above average in the NFL. So like, if you're just better in those areas, and that's just the red zone. That doesn't even count the penalties.
Yeah. That honestly would be like a good win, like 3. It's like, hey, if you had to pick one thing that, like, say the Bears could only fix one thing on Sunday, which one would you fix? The special teams, the red zone, or the penalties? And
well, the problem with that, and
they do kind of tie
red zone and penalties specifically, even some of the special teams issues, like when you do get a good return, there's a penalty, right?
They do tie in, for sure.
If in a magical world you're saying they're disconnected, I would just say red zone because it's more points.
Exactly.
I would pick the red zone. So. And look, the first 3 weeks, you were 6 for 7, and they were having penalties in those games. So 6-7, we're all very mature here. But, yeah, I would say red zone. I just want more points. If you can finish drives, but again, they're kind of all 3 intertwined, especially, or like the first and the third one are intertwined with the second one.
Yep.
Well, and even the offense in some ways is tied to special teams because you rip a good return but have a penalty. You start at your own 19 instead of the 34 or whatever it was that one drive. That's an extra almost 2 first downs that you lost. So Yeah, it's all interconnected. But yeah, if I had to pick one, I would just say get back to being better in the red zone, score more points. So, all right, we will get to your questions. Hashtag Bears super chat. We can rip Braden's real quick before we get into the mailbag. But if you want to jump to the top of the line, we will. You can super chat. Otherwise, we'll get to those hashtag Bears questions that I know you guys have. Some Twitter noties, nothing Bears related. It looks like
just Kyler Murray.
Limited. See if he returns this week.
I would be shocked if he doesn't go because it's also Monday night against the Cowboys, so he has an extra day.
Yeah,
but
they're coming off a bye too, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah, you would think he'd be ready to go.
Braden says Caleb will have a good performance and improve. Braden's bringing the positive energy. We can appreciate that.
I mean, I would think so. I mean, you're playing a bad defense. You would think the motivation would be there after they lost last week. So yeah, I mean that's the hope. That is the hope. Excuse me. All right, let's hop into it. If you want to get your question on the show, you got to use the hashtag Bears or super chat function. Otherwise, our software doesn't pick it up. And we will get to those coming up next here on Chicago Bears Now. I'm Harrison Graham. Let's rip a Bears Now mailbag here. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get on the show. We got Team Moody kicking things off. Interesting. I saw there's a chance Myles Garrett could get traded. Any chance for the Bears here? Well, I talked about this on 4Verts. Jeremy Fowler didn't report that they're going to trade him, but he kind of reported like, hey, if he really wanted out, the contract, the structure of it isn't impossible to trade for Cleveland. They would eat like a $41 million dead cap hit next year, which is a lot, but it's not impossible to just eat for a season if you're the Browns. And he just seems miserable, doesn't he? Now, no one forced him to sign the contract. I know Cleveland was saying they weren't going to trade him, so when they offered $40 million a year, he probably just bit the bullet. So, you can come to your own conclusions on who to blame on that. Let me be clear, though. The Bears are not going to trade for Myles Garrett. They can't absorb his cap right now. I mean, there's always a way, but I just think it's too big. But more important, forget the money. You're starting with 2 first-round picks. I just don't think the Bears are in a spot this second to be making that big of a swing. Now, if you want to say Trey Hendrickson's available for a second or third, you can talk me into that. Myles Garrett, who is unbelievable and would be the best player on this team by far, 2 1s and a day 2 pick. I don't think the Bears are close enough to justify that. I think that's a crazy risky move for Chicago, even though it would be fun as hell to see. I mean, I can fully acknowledge that. I would be floored if the Bears did that, and quite frankly, I don't even know if I would like. It'd be fun. Don't get me wrong. If I get the notey from Schefter, they're doing it. I'd be pumped, but I'd be like, holy shit! Like this is a major swing, which I don't even know if that makes sense right now. That being said, who is a player that you think the Bears should trade for? If it's Myles Garrett, put his name in the comment section below. But if there's someone else out there, maybe like I've said Jermaine Johnson, even though it seems that ship has sailed with the Jets, they're probably going to keep him. That's a type of swing I would take. But if there's someone else out there, go ahead and let me know who that is. Caden Gunvaldson, if Brisker stays healthy, what can an extension for him look like? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think he's mostly been good this year. He's had a couple duds. I didn't think he was good in Detroit. Really, no one was. I actually thought against Baltimore, it was one of his worst games of the season. Is it like a 2-year that's most guarantees on the first year? Is it like 2 for 16, 10 guaranteed, something like that? I don't think you can commit super long term with the concussion history. And hey, kudos to him. He's been healthy this year. That's great. But he's also not like a star. He's a good player. But if you told me in 4 months he's not on this team, I don't think it's catastrophic. Now, I do think he brings a juice and energy that's valuable to have. But if some team's willing to offer him 3 for $30 million or something, I don't know if you're the Bears, if that makes sense. Maybe the comp pick formula game for him makes more sense. So we'll see. I do think between him and Kevin Byard, keeping one makes sense because you don't want to enter the offseason having no answers at safety. But Who knows? Does Gardner-Johnson become a potential answer that you could get for cheap for next year? It's way early in that process, but he's kind of entered the mix now, even though they're mostly playing him at nickel right now. But I don't know. I would say it's a 1-2 year deal at, $6 to $8 million per year is probably what I'd be thinking. Okay, Evan, would a trade for a running back increase Swift's injury being serious? Sir, you're saying, like, if they trade for a running back, does that mean Swift's injury is more serious than we think? It could. He's playing through a groin issue. Now, how severe is it? Is there major risk of further injury? I don't know. It kind of feels like, has it maybe just slowly gotten worse as he's played through it? That certainly feels possible. It could be a combination of that and just, hey, there's good value out there. And also, maybe they don't like Roschon's situation either with his back injury, and you just want to get a third reliable runner into your system, like a Jerome Ford type. Like, it doesn't have to be a big swing or anything like that. So I think all of that is possible, Evan, but I can't say with, like, 100% certainty either way. All right, we are sponsored by Prize Picks here on Chicago Bears Now. Shout out to Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy sports app out there. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks. The weather may be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play for your first $5. The way you play Prize Picks is very simple. You just pick more or less on player stat projections, all sports available, for 2 to 6 player lineups. Got to pick at least 2 players on 2 or more teams, up to 6 players. Pick more or less on tons of stats available: passing yards, receiving yards, points, rebounds, assists, basketball, goals in hockey, strikeouts in baseball, all kinds of stuff. More or less, you are good to go. Here's an example of a 3-player lineup I've got. I've got more than 230.5 passing yards from Caleb Williams on Sunday, less on Chase Brown's rushing yards this game, and then more on DeAndre Swift. Again, with his injury situation, if he does not go in this game, it would just revert to a 2-player lineup, or if he were to play and get hurt in the first half and not return, Prize Picks offers injury insurance, so it would also revert to a 2-player lineup. Pretty cool and generous feature that they have. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in the lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, we got Matt here. Appreciate the 5. Bengals rush defense is dead last, allowing 152 with Kmet back. I hope. Well, he's limited as we're filming this, so do want to make that clear, but hopefully he's back. I hope to see us get back to pounding the rock. Hopefully Swift plays bear down. Kmet did talk to the media this week. That's typically a sign he'll play. By the time other people watch this, we're recording live on Thursday, he might be full go, so I do want to get that out there. But, yeah, I mean, I know everyone's focus is on Caleb in this game, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but, like, you might be able to have a field day running the football too. And, like, if the run game's working consistently, like, stick with that as well. So, yeah, hopefully Swift can go. If he can't, maybe this is a 20-carry Kyle Monungai game. So it would be interesting to see how he handles a bigger load. DC Viper, appreciate all the questions, guys. When has Ben going to use Loveland and Burden more? Pick them 1 and 2, yet for whatever reason they are not on the field much. Well, Loveland's on the field a lot. Let's make that clear. He's playing a lot. He's blocking a lot. They aren't throwing to him as much. I liked last week how on the opening script they just ran a simple boot to him. He was open, picked up 18 yards. I do agree they need to utilize him more, but he's playing a lot. With Burden, I think a couple things are at play. And first of all, he's in the concussion protocol. He's probably not going to play this week. Might already be ruled out by the time some people watch this. I think a couple things are at play. One, Olamide Zaccheaus, they trust more, probably from a playbook standpoint. Caleb seems to, think he's really reliable. I would say after Rome, he probably trusts him the most in terms of just like, hey, I know where he's going to be, so I'm going to throw him the football. I'm with you. I would like to see more Luther Burden, but if they don't trust him in the full playbook arsenal, then, he's a rookie. That happens sometimes. So I'm with you, especially like big picture. They need to be focal points of this team, and hopefully the second half of the season they get more involved. Subscribe to the channel. We have daily videos, live watch parties, including 2 other live shows per week. Every Monday and Thursday we go live, plus obviously on game days as well. We drop videos every single day, long form and short form content, updates, injury news, game previews, trade rumors, especially leading up to the trade deadline. Don't miss out. Subscribe, turn on the notifications. We got you covered. Okay, Sean the Savage, Bears call the Pats for Henderson. They wanted him in the draft. At least make a call. Yeah, call the Patriots for Travion Henderson. I don't know what's going on there. Now, Ramondre Stevenson's dealing with an injury now. They're 8 games in to Henderson's rookie year. It would be pretty shocking if they punted on him this early, even if they don't love what they're seeing out of him. But sure, like if I'm Ryan Poles, I'd call, hey, 4th-round pick, guy that went in the 2nd round, I would do that. You'd have his whole rookie contract. Would the Patriots trade him for a 4th after drafting him top 40 this year? That seems unlikely. I probably wouldn't do a 3rd right now for him. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm imagining some teams have called just to check in on that situation. All right, Drew Donahue. What would it take for the Bears to trade for Quinnen Williams? Also, would we have to move on from one of our edges to do so? Well, Williams would play defensive tackle in this scheme. DA might kick him out every once in a while, but probably a 1st. And I'm not trading a 1 right now. If a 2 was on the board, I would think about it, I guess. I don't think the Jets are taking a 2 based on the reporting that's been out there. The reporting has pretty consistently been they don't want to trade him, but if they get a big offer, they'd at least listen. To me, that sounds like a 1st-round pick. So I'm not doing it for a 1st. 2nd, we can have a conversation. If for some reason it was a 3rd, sure. But other than that, I think I'm passing on Quinnen Williams, even though I really like the player. All right, predict the score. Bears, Bengals. Who wins? What's the final score going to be? I've got Bears 31-20. You guys let me know. We got Where's Nestle? If the Bears win on Sunday, who is the most realistic and reasonable player we could trade for? The most realistic and reasonable? It's hard to know without knowing who's truly available and what the cost is. I don't know. Would it be like Matt Judon for a pick swap? I think the Dolphins would take anything for him. So maybe something like that in terms of most realistic and reasonable. Could you get a Jalen Phillips or a Jermaine Johnson? It doesn't seem like Jermaine's available, but maybe that changes. At a running back, Jerome Ford, I think that's a similar situation to like Matt Judon. I think the Browns would take a late-round pick or a pick swap. So something like that it could be. Corners are going to be out there. If you need another outside guy, what's the cost? Unclear. So Sean the Savage, why stop with the reunions? Go get Chase Young. He has more sacks in 3 games than Dio has in 7. Yeah, I mean, Chase Young's having a good year. He just got back from his injury. That's always the question with him, though. 2 things. 1, can he stay healthy? 2, his motor in his career has been inconsistent. Now, Dennis Allen would know that situation very well. So I think if they did trade for him, they would feel good about where he's at mentally. He's got a 3-year, $51 million contract. So when he's healthy, that's pretty reasonable. I mean, it's basically the same as Dio's, and he's a far better player, especially from a pass rush standpoint. So sure, if he's available and, you can pivot off of somebody this offseason, I'd be open to it. But I do have concerns about his injury history. All right, appreciate all the questions. We will continue the conversation over on social media. DMs are open. Got to catch up on some from this weekend. I will do that soon. Hashtag, not hashtag Bears in the DMs, but at HGramNFL on Twitter and Instagram. You know where to find me. All right, we got Alex. We lose this, we are cooked. Bear down. I mean, yes and no. There's a lot to play for this season for the Bears, even beyond playoffs. But I hear you. If you're in the let's make the playoffs camp, it feels like that task becomes a lot taller if you lose this game. It just does. Games are going to get a lot tougher. So I hear you. I don't think it's like this, you're dead, but I would say if your chances of the playoffs are, let's call it 30-ish% heading into this game, I don't know, is it dropped to 15 if you lose? That feels about right. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough sledding if you lose to the Bengals, no question.
It'll just be such a deflating loss, too, especially coming off of Baltimore. Obviously, you have to wait to see how it happens. And the
context always matters.
But it would suck.
Yeah, if you lose both these, it's not good. It's not good. NXN this Sunday will be my first NFL game. Hope we win. Dude, congratulations, my guy. Dude. Enjoy. I don't know if you're from the Cincy area, but I've heard that stadium kind of blows. But don't let that deter you from having a good time. Bring us home a win, man. Let's go. Bring that dub, Hendrickson. We appreciate you supporting the show. Z-Berry, Gardner-Johnson is an extremely good player. His teams have a 59-18 record when he plays. I hope he plays well and is signed to an extension. That is one thing I probably have failed to talk about enough. I have mentioned it. He's been on a Super Bowl team, a Super Bowl runner-up team. Every team he is on, though, seems to be pretty good. Like, he's kind of like there's always, like, role players in the NBA, Colin, that just find themselves on good teams. He's kind of that guy. Like, even though he comes with baggage, even though he seems to outwear his welcome quickly, he does help to win. He does help winning everywhere he goes.
He's a talented football player at the end of the day. And look, the Bears, excuse me, are going to use him in a place that they desperately need help back there in the secondary. And like you, I mean, we could bring up his quote that he said the other day that, look, he's going to come in and he's going to bring a little bit of fire, a little bit of skill in the back end. That's exactly what he's going to do. That's who he is. It's who he's been his entire career.
Yeah, he said, I'm just coming in to add extra fire, extra skill to the back end. Said he appreciates Dennis Allen. Yeah, I mean, look, this guy's been a part of winning. He's played in a lot of big games. He's made a lot of big plays in big games. Maybe this is right place, right time for everyone involved. He needed an opportunity. Bears need a guy on the back end. I think also they could use a guy like this who plays with a little extra juice. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not thinking big picture right now, Z-Berry, but that would be like a dream scenario. It's an awesome fit, and they at least extend him for a year. Now, I don't know if there's a world where you'd give him a long-term extension given his history, but he's only 27 still. Feels like he's been in the NFL for like 12 years. So if he comes in, balls out, is a good fit in this locker room, and you could get him on a team-friendly one-year deal for next year. Maybe he slides into a safety role next year with Kyler Gordon coming back. I mean, you go like Kevin Byard, Gardner-Johnson, or Brisker Gardner-Johnson. Pick Byard, Brisker, which one you want, and then have Gardner-Johnson next to him. Now, I think if you keep Gardner-Johnson, I don't think he's like a true free safety. So, like, he's probably more of that strong spot. So maybe like Brisker would be a guy that walks. Again, this is all hypothetical, how it goes, whatever. But, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what happens. And, again, if it's a disaster, you just cut him. Like, I don't think, like, if you traded for him and it went bad, that's one thing. But, like, I don't think the locker room's going to combust if he causes problems. They'll just get rid of him. Like, I don't think it's that big of a risk in this situation, given where you're at in the secondary. So, I think it's week by week for him right now, and big picture, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Low risk, probably like medium to high reward.
Yeah.
For a guy like this.
I think best case scenario is he's like a very good starter. Like, I'm not expecting him to pick off 5 balls the final 10 games, but a couple picks here, sack there, just be a contributor to the secondary. Like, that's what you're looking for.
I think the best case scenario is the scenario you mentioned. Like, he plays great, he helps you out the rest of the year. He kind of maybe rallies the troops in terms of who's left back there in the secondary, and you bring him back next year to try to compete for some kind of role in your secondary. To your point.
Yeah.
Because I mean, again, Dennis Allen loves versatile DBs. He is that to a T.
Yep.
So
no question.
All
right, we caught up on soups.
We are.
All righty, we will get going here as we got one more segment to go. Appreciate all 500 plus tuning in. If we have any more super chats or questions that come in during this segment, we will hit those on the way out. But coming up next, ESPN had some trade buzz on all 32 teams. I'm going to react to their thoughts on the Bears heading into the trade deadline. So we will do that next. Jeremy, we'll get to your super chat after this segment. NFL trade rumors continue to heat up as we are inching closer to the next Tuesday, November 4th trade deadline. My name is Harrison Graham. ESPN dropped an article with trade intel, ideas, thoughts for all 32 teams. So I'm going to kind of dive into some of their takes on the Bears and whether or not some of these moves would make sense. First off, they dove into the thought of, are the Bears going to be buyers or are they going to be sellers? What makes more sense? What are they hearing? And Jeremy Fowler was the one who chimed in on this one, and he thinks they're more on the buying side of things. Now, a loss to Cincinnati could change that, but he said, quote, I'll go with adding, a.k.a. buying. The Bears mostly have everything they need, but could use pass rush help. No edge rusher on the roster has more than 3 sacks through the first 7 games. General manager Ryan Poles traded for Montez Sweat before the trade deadline 2 years ago. Does he have another move in him? As far as needs on this team, I think it's as follows. Edge rusher's a clear need, even though they've invested big money there in Sweat and obviously Dio Odunze. Outside corner, potentially. Now, Tyrique should be back this week. You know, you're in an okay spot with him and Nashawn Wright, but again, the depth isn't there. Unclear if Jalen Johnson's going to get back at some point this year. That's more of a short-term need. Left tackle, I don't know if you're getting someone at the deadline, but big picture, that's a need. And then potentially running back. DeAndre Swift's got this groin thing. Roschon Johnson, your third back right now, is dealing with the back issue. You could potentially see a small move there to help bolster that room. I don't know if they would swing big, but those are 4 needs. I think edge stands out clearly with this team right now. You look at some names that have been out there. Trey Hendrickson, if the Bears beat the Bengals, I think could become available again. Jermaine Johnson, he and the Jets have seemingly shut that down, but we'll see. You never know. Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb. Seems pretty heavily reported that one of those guys would get traded. I'd be more interested in Phillips, especially based on Chubb's contract. Kayvon Thibodeau, mixed reporting there. Unclear if he's available. Arden Key with the Titans. Arnold Ebiketie, Matthew Judon, kind of all fall into the same category, like veteran rental types. They all seem available. Anthony Jennings, more of a run stopper. I don't think the Bears really need that. I want someone who can get the quarterback. I doubt Cam Jordan would want to leave New Orleans, but the Dennis Allen connection, if you want just a veteran, just a rental vet presence type, he could come in and help. When you look at corners, I think these are 4 outside corners to keep an eye on. Reek Woolen, that one's been out there for weeks at this point. Will the Seahawks trade him? Would the Bears be interested? Unclear. Alontae Taylor, he can play inside. He can play outside. Keep an eye on him. Cam Taylor-Britt, you wouldn't get him before this game, obviously. But, again, if the Bengals lose, he's kind of been in and out of the lineup. They might be willing to part ways. And then Rasul Douglas, I think at this point he'd probably be my favorite option here because shouldn't cost much at all. And he's actually playing pretty good ball this year. Would just be a cheap rental for like a late-round pick. Some running backs out there. Breece Hall. Again, I don't think the big running back trade is likely at this point, considering the Bears have found some solutions in their run game. The only way is if, like, DeAndre Swift suffered a major injury. It doesn't seem like this groin injury is major right now, but it's something to monitor. Tony Pollard, I mean, he's interesting. Rumors of him being available. Jerome Ford, I kind of like the idea of him if they're concerned about Roschon Johnson. The last couple of years before this year, he has like 1,400 combined yards. He's a bruiser. Could he help in some of your red zone short yardage situations? They have not been great in those spots. Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle, wanted to include them. Would the Panthers trade one, considering Dowdle's having a great year? They just extended Hubbard. Does it make sense for Carolina long-term to just lean into one of them? So those are some other names to keep an eye on as well. Now, I do think edge or corner are most likely at this point. Edge stands out to me just because you haven't gotten a ton out of that position. Now, Boston Booker has a big game before the deadline here. Maybe you just roll with what you got, but I would like to get something there, even if it's just, a cheap rental like Matt Judon. Get someone in the mix that can at least eat some snaps and ideally get some pressure. What position do you guys think the Bears need the most help at? I would say edge. Pass rusher, period, is what I would be looking at. But you guys let me know what you think. All right, more from ESPN here. Key position of need. So obviously we just talked about a lot of positions, but Aaron Schatz, kind of their data guy at ESPN, talked about the pass rush issues. He said edge rushers, the biggest positional need. The Bears are 30th in pass rush win rate at 31.3%, with problems both on the interior and at the edge, but there's more depth on the interior, which makes edge more of a need. I would agree with that to a T. I don't think this defensive tackle unit's been great, but you've got more bodies, more at least decent bodies in there. You got more depth, obviously. And on the edge, even though you've spent big money with your two starters, Montez Sweat and Odunze, you're just not getting consistent production. You've got to generate more pressure. And now even your depth is taking a hit because Dominic Robinson's set to miss a few weeks with the high ankle sprain, and those are tricky to come back from, and Shamar Turner's out for the year. The bottom line is you got to find a way to get more pressure, and you got to find a way to get more pressure with your defensive ends. Dennis Allen is picking spots to blitz, and that's great, but you can't blitz every other snap. Like, it's just not – it's not a sustainable model. Like, I like that you mix those in, and you need to, but this is just – you got to get more out of Montez, who's been slowly playing better but not living up to the contract, and Dio's been terrible as an edge pass rusher. They talked earlier in the week. They like how he's been on the interior on the limited snaps there, but on the edge, he's been a total non-factor as a pass rusher. He's been fine as a run defender, but certainly not what you're paying for. Ben Johnson said it Wednesday. We have to take advantage of our one-on-ones. That is a direct shot at Dio Odunze and Montez Sweat, in my opinion. Now, he mentioned interior guys too, and sure, there's one-on-ones in there that Javon Dexter probably needs to take more advantage of, but I think it's pretty clear if you're an average football fan, you're not getting enough production from your two edge rushers that are combining at $40 million per year. It's just not good enough at this point in time. All right, more from ESPN as the trade deadline is just around the corner here, but I do want to tell you guys about our awesome sponsor, Ethos, fast and easy life insurance. Life insurance is one of the most important investments you can make in your family. Now with Ethos, you can get covered and protected in minutes with rates as low as $2 per day billed monthly. You can also get up to $3 million in coverage. I'm a dad. I'm a father. I take this stuff seriously. I'm not going to take life insurance for granted. Ethos is revolutionizing the insurance industry with a 100% online process and can provide protection for you and your loved ones just like they have for me. With Ethos, you can get life insurance in as little as 10 minutes. Seriously, it's so quick. Ethos has no medical exams, just a few easy health questions online. Their 100% online and hassle-free process makes it easy to apply. You'll get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. You can even get same-day coverage without ever leaving your house. Ethos is a trustworthy company that disrupts the traditional life insurance industry. I can't recommend them enough. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get up to $3 million in coverage in as little as 10 minutes at ethos.com/NFL daily. That is ethos.com/NFL daily. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. That link is in the comments and in the description. Get a free quote at ethos.com/NFL daily. All right, part of this article for every team, they explore, a trade candidate for each team. And Courtney Cronin, not me, Courtney Cronin mentioned DJ Moore as a possibility. She says, wide receiver DJ Moore. Though I don't think this is likely to happen, I would agree. Moore is a more realistic trade candidate than a player such as left tackle Braxton Jones, who was benched after 44 starts and is on injured reserve until at least week 12. Side note, I actually don't know if you can trade a player on short-term IR. I guess you can, but I don't know that 100% sure. She adds, Moore is second on the Bears in targets with 38, receptions with 26, yards 331. That's receiving. His contract situation makes it difficult to see him being moved. $23.5 million cap hits each year through 2029. That's for the Bears, for example. For a trading team, it'd be a little bit less. But if a playoff team becomes desperate, the Bears could feel okay parting with Moore to create cap space in 2026. Now, that last note, I think, is where I actually agree with it as a possibility. And I said it before the season. After they drafted Luther Burden, it felt like to me that made DJ Moore potentially extendable. I'm not saying Luther Burden's better than DJ Moore. I'm certainly not saying Olamide Zaccheaus is. But to me, the second you draft Luther Burden, the most ideal scenario is Rome Odunze and Luther Burden become your long-term answer 1-2 punch, right? Like, that's what we're hoping for. Now, I don't think we've seen enough from Luther yet to pull the trigger on that, which is probably why you wouldn't do it right now, among other reasons. DJ Moore can obviously just help this team right now. He could help this team long-term, but let's face it, we have to be honest about this. DJ Moore is not this team's number one receiver, and he's making number one receiver money. Look at the production. It's fine wide receiver 2 numbers. It's not even elite wide receiver 2 numbers. Now, there can be a lot of blame there. Is that on him? Is that on Caleb? Is that on Ben? Is that on the play calling? It's probably a combination, but for whatever reason, his production has dipped. And I think the biggest reason is just Odunze is a more polished player. He's younger. He's ascending. He's your number one guy moving forward. So the question you have to ask yourself, and again, I think everyone thinks I hate DJ Moore. I don't. He's a really good player. I just don't think he's a number one receiver, especially on this team right now. Maybe he is for another team. Maybe he was here a couple years ago. He definitely was. But like Odunze, that you took him in the top 10. That's who you need to be leaning into. If you feel good about the room moving forward, I could see an offseason trade. I don't think it's coming in the next 5 days. I'm not even saying I'd want it to. In fact, I probably wouldn't unless there was some awesome trade opportunity for a big-time pass rusher. The bottom line is the Bears need more production for DJ Moore. Regardless who it's on. It's probably a combination. But that is what I would say. Is he here long term? I don't know. But this is going to be an ongoing storyline, especially in the offseason. Okay, subscribe to the channel for more Bears trade coverage leading up to the deadline, plus a lot more. Daily injury updates, we continue to do that. Game previews, pregame, postgame shows during our live watch parties. We go live 3 days per week, including game day. We do these live mailbag episodes as well. We got you covered. Subscribe, turn on the notifications. Do not miss out. Okay. Lastly, who is a specific potential trade target? We obviously explored positions and whatnot earlier. This was interesting from Ben Solak. He says Commanders cornerback Marshawn Lattimore could be a name to monitor. He said this would be back-to-back trade deadline relocations for Lattimore, who picked off Patrick Mahomes on Monday but has struggled since Washington acquired him. In fact, I looked. That's easily been his best game since joining the Commanders. Solak adds, he would return to Dennis Allen's defense. He played with the Saints for a while, obviously, where the absence of Jalen Johnson leaves the outside cornerback position unsettled for the Bears. Lattimore isn't the player he once was, but probably would still beat out Tyrique Stevenson for snaps. Well, Ben Solak hasn't been paying attention to the Bears secondary with that last note because Tyrique Stevenson since week 2 has been very good. But I get what he's saying in a nutshell. Like, you've been banged up at outside corner. The Dennis Allen connection is there. I think the question you would have to ask yourself here, do you think this is a clear upgrade over Nahshon Wright? I would not bring him in unless you're 100% confident on that. I will say from a contract standpoint, it would cost, I think from a cap hit, he's making like 16, 18 this year, but it's prorated by week from a cap hit standpoint, so it would probably be like $8 million. You could find a way to absorb that for this year, and then next year you can cut him with no dead cap penalty. So you could do this and kind of treat it as a rental if you are the Chicago Bears. His coverage stats are okay this year. I thought he actually played really good against the Chiefs. I mean, even Mahomes said he threw that ball exactly where he wanted to, and Lattimore made a good play on it. QB rating when targeted, 85. That's okay. I think he's played a little better as of late, but clearly for what Washington was looking for when they traded for him last year, he has not lived up to that. He is not worth what he currently makes. But again, if you were to go down this route, you could just cut him after the season or see if some other team would take him for a late-round pick. All of that being said, I would only do this if two things happen. One, he's a clear upgrade over Nahshon Wright in your eyes, and Dennis Allen, Al Harris, etc. Two, if it's a 6th-round pick or later, 7th-rounder, or a pick swap. I'm not doing some like 4th, 5th-round pick. He's not playing up to that level. So I understand what Solak is saying, especially if Jalen Johnson has no chance of coming back. However, he is not better than Tyrique Stevenson right now. Let's make that clear. Is he better than Nahshon Wright? That's question number one you have to ask if you're the Bears reviewing the film of both Marshawn Lattimore and Nahshon Wright from this season. Will the Bears make a trade? Type Y for yes, type in for no. Ryan Poles has never not made a trade at a deadline. Last year, he only made one, and that was trading away Khalil Herbert. So history tells us he'll at least do a minor move. Whether or not it's minor, big, I would expect something happens, but we'll have to wait and see. Clock is ticking. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Chicago Bears Now. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And as always, bear down. All right, we'll clean up any super chats here and then sign off. If you want a super chat and get on the show, now is the time. Jeremy says, do you think the Bears will go after Trey Hendrickson after the game? If they win, I do wonder if a call's made. I don't think there's a high chance the Bears would get him. I do think if the Bears beat the Bengals, Cincinnati reconsiders trading him Because the reporting heading into that Jets game was they're not trading him. The reporting coming out of them losing to the Jets is they're still likely not going to trade him. Well, if they lose again and they're 3-6, it's like you've already kind of shown us you don't want to keep him long term. Why wouldn't you just trade him? Like that, don't you think, Colin? Like, if they lose this game, it's like, what are you hanging on for? Like,
Right.
And if you don't trade him, you should extend him immediately. Like, there's no reason to play this cat and mouse game at this point if you lose on Sunday and you don't want to keep him long term.
You could have said that numerous stops along the way, the Trey Hendrickson saga. So, I mean, it's just.
I mean, we said it all offseason, and they kind of just compromised on a pay raise for this year. But if they're 3-6, I think their season's over. You would have to think long and hard if you're the Bengals. If you get offered at least a third, I think you'd have to take it.
Bears could potentially give the NFL a gift if they win on Sunday.
Yeah, they could give content creators a gift. All about the content, baby.
Always.
Azim, appreciate the $1 and then the 5 here. He says, if it were up to you to make a big trade, who are you trading for? Blue chip, I like Hendrickson. Need a standout rusher. Love the show. Bear down. That's probably the biggest swing I would make. I don't think I'm trading a 1 for anybody. He's probably like the biggest swing I would go. Then you get into, we did these trade target tiers video. Go check it out. We put it out about a week ago if you want. You know, some of those mid-tier guys, my favorite idea all along has been Jermaine Johnson because the 5th year has already been exercised. He's cheap this year. Next year it's like $13 million, I think. That's a reasonable number for him. You don't have to extend him right away. He's coming back from that Achilles, so you can kind of just see how it plays out. Like if you could get him for a day 3 pick, like a 4th rounder, I would take that swing. Now, he tweeted out, I'm not effing leaving. Then he told reporters he talked to the Jets, and both he and the Jets have come to an agreement that he's going to stay. Does that change? This is Woody Johnson we're talking about, but that's been my favorite idea up to this point. So, yeah, I mean, if you win Sunday, I would have some interest in Hendrickson, even though I doubt the Bears would be the team that ends up getting him.
Yeah, I just...
Be fun.
It wouldn't be the first time like a team, goes on Sunday before the trade deadline, plays a team, and then one of their players gets traded from that team to the opposing team that they just played. But, Garofalo. Rick Woolen more likely than not to remain with the Seahawks during the NFL trade deadline. Interesting.
I thought he played his best game of the year against the Texans.
Really did.
And I just wonder if they're worried about Witherspoon. Like, if nothing else, even if McDonald doesn't think he's a scheme fit long term, like, that's a pretty high end backup, worst case. He's played a lot of ball, good ball production.
Probably will just, move on from him maybe in the offseason.
Play the comp pick game.
Giants telling teams they're not trading Kayvon Thibodeau at this current moment.
Is that Garofalo as well?
Yep, and then Jacoby Myers still waiting out his trade request with the Raiders.
Dude, if they keep Myers, that's so fucking stupid. Now, if your best offers are like a 5th or 6th, I guess I get it, but I would take a 4th or better. You literally just signed Tyler Lockett. What are they doing?
What are we doing here?
You drafted Jack Besh and Dante Thornton. They need to be playing full-time the rest of the season. See what you got there.
Make a lot of sense.
They're a weird team, man. Braden. If our key players weren't injured, sky's the limit. Kyler Gordon keeps getting hurt. Could it be time to move on? You can't really move on. You just extended them. The earliest you could move on is probably after next season. So I don't think that's very likely. I guess the only scenario where you would move on, Colin, is if you just love how Gardner-Johnson plays at nickel and you just trade Kyler. It wouldn't be a cut situation. It would be a trade. And if you trade him, you're probably trading for 70 cents on the dollar because he's coming off an injury-riddled season. So I don't think there's a world where he's not on this team at least next year.
Agreed.
So
I don't know why you would, to be honest. He, to me, out of all your current defensive backs on this roster, I think he embodies what Dennis Allen wants to do the most.
Yeah, just versatility and just disguises, do different things.
Plus, like you mentioned, you just extended him. Again, he's dealing with injuries, and that's unfortunate. But
let's just from a speculation standpoint, if you let's just say they tried to to cut or trade him next year. Trying to find his page here. Hang on. Okay, 1 sec. All right, here it is. If they cut him pre-June 1 next year, which there's no world they would do that, his cap goes from $13.3 million to $17.5. So it costs you more to cut him. So you're not cutting him. If you post-June 1 cut him, you only save $800,000. So there's no world where you would cut him, period. If you traded him pre-June 1, you would save $5.8 million. His dead cap hit would be $7.5 million. If you traded him post-June 1, you'd save $10.8 million, eat $2.5 million. But again, what world exists where you're trading him like next July? That by then you got to know who's in your secondary. So I'd be floored if he's not on this team next year. I think the only way, again, is if, I don't know, he comes back and gets hurt again. Gardner-Johnson lights it up, and you just trade him for pennies on the dollar. But it's pretty rare to extend a guy like this, and then you cut him as the extension, or cut or trade him as the extension starts. It's just not. Just doesn't happen.
I just don't see it happening.
Z-Berry, Dennis Allen must have had a say in the Dio signing. Probably believes he can get Dio producing at a higher level. May be seen. Yeah, I'm sure he had some input. I don't think he's an overwhelming deciding factor. Look, Dio's measurables and skill set somewhat fit what Dennis Allen likes. He likes big physical guys that can dent the pocket. And he does some of that. But like he's not denting the even if the sacks weren't there, but like a few times a game you're like, "Oh, he's really driving the left tackle back on more than a few occasions." You're like, "Okay, like yeah, he may only have 5 sacks this year, but like how many throws did he impact?" I mean, has he impacted more than like 7 or 8 throws this year? Like, I would say probably not. I'd have to go back and look at every Dio rep, but I would say even Dennis Allen would say they're not getting enough out of him right now. I mean, Ben Johnson said we're not winning enough one-on-ones. I mean, I think they feel okay about him in the run game, but you don't pay a guy $16 million to only play the run. So
it's very true. Yeah, I mean, look, could things may have been, swayed a little bit in terms of like wanting to play inside more, like he's been forced to play more edge, possibly. But listen, whatever the plan was, it has been working up to this point. Just plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean, whatever like the best case scenario was, I wouldn't even say you've lived up to like the reasonable scenario. Like I'd say every way you look at it, it's been an underachieving signing. Now, it's been 7 games. Things can change, but
right.
I'd say right now that's kind of where you're at. So, yeah. All right. This was fun. Appreciate everybody for tuning in here on a Thursday. Big game Sunday, man. Got to get back in the win column. It's a huge pivotal game. I think it impacts a lot. It impacts expectation, or like what are reasonable expectations the rest of the season. If you win, I think you can still have big goals. If you lose, does it shift more to like, okay, now it's more about big picture conversations again? If you lose, how does it impact the trade deadline? Are you willing to swing a little bigger? Do you trade a player away and become a soft seller if you lose this game? I think this game could potentially impact 2 or 3 kind of short-term and long-term things for this team. So let's see what happens. It's not the end-all, be-all game, big picture, but if you want to be a playoff team this year, you probably got to get this one. So hopefully they can do so. Everybody have a great weekend. If there's notable news tomorrow with the injury report, I will do a video. So from the house, I'm off tomorrow and Saturday, but we'll have you covered. So lock us in, subscribe, share this channel with a friend. Colin and I would appreciate it. We will see you guys live in studio on Sunday. Bears, Bengals, 10:45 a.m. start for our pregame show, and then we'll go live at noon. All right, we're out of here. Bear down.